Everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Laura Narbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So every Tuesday at noon, I either post a video or come on live with you to show you a fun little project that I've been making. So I'll be posting all the measurements for the video in the description. So you're welcome to either just watch this one straight through, or you can follow along and, cut things as we go too. But sometimes it's nice to just watch and come back and do the project once you have everything cut. So it's completely up to you. If you're wondering about something that I use in the video, I have also put links to my online store in the description there, so you can always go and check out that item if I'm mentioning something and you're not familiar with it. So I hope that you enjoyed this project. This one is based purely on stuff that was left on my desk after I finished organizing an all-day retreat a couple weeks ago. So twice a year, once in the spring and once in the end of October, I host an all-day crafting event at my house, and I also offer to-go kits for those who can't come, and they get like a video set up kind of like this with tutorials. But anyways, so I was doing half of my projects with this beautiful bundles suite, and I used so many pieces of the paper, but I ended up with tons of scraps that kind of looked like this when I was done. So after the event, and when you're prepping over 400 projects, you end up with quite a few scraps. So I thought, hey, let me just reiterate one of my favorite techniques. I think I showed it to you guys a while ago, but it is just like a really fun strip background that you can do. And this time I'm using window sheets. So sometimes you can take a piece of white paper and do the same technique where you'll take a strip of your little extras and you kind of just put them in a pattern along a piece of white and then trim it down and put it onto a card front. But this time I thought we'd do something a little bit different, and I don't know if you can tell because it kind of looks like I've almost just made every single one of these strips float. I have not done that. I have cheated a little bit and used one of our Stampin' Up! Window sheets to attach all my pieces to, and that's how I make it look like they're floating. So before we get started, this is the card that we're going to do today. You can replicate it with any sorts of scraps that you have, but I'll just show it to you using the Bright and Beautiful Designer Series paper. And if you're wanting to add some of these adorable balloons, you can either stamp your own from the Beautiful Balloons stamp set, or you can use some of these dies to cut those out. So you can either cut them out from cardstock and then stamp a really cute image on them, or like I did, you can cut them out from extra pieces of your designer paper and you can get some fun little patterns on that too. The sentiment that I chose is this "Let's Get Our Celebration On," because it has this nice little bend in it. And the nice thing about our photopolymers, I'll just show you on this guy. Let's say I'm working in a space where I want this to be even tighter. You can actually bend your stamps into place. And that's what I had to do on this guy because I needed a little tighter of an arch than what it naturally comes out as. Do you see? This is the natural kind of like path it would come. It's very wide, goes over the top of this balloon. And that would fit perfectly on the largest of the Stylish Shapes dies, but I'm using the second largest on our project. So this is what you would do. You would take your stamp and you just kind of bend it to where you need it to be, and then you'd mount it onto a block like that. So there's a couple little tips for you. But let's get crafting. This one should be quick and easy, and you should be able to, like I'm working on, make a whole bunch of these all at once using whatever scraps you've got. So I had a bunch of scraps left, and I think I've ended up with about 13 full cards, just kind of combining them. I just have to add all the decals to those. But let's get going. So you will need a card base. I have chosen Misty Moonlight because I thought it worked quite nicely with the colors that were in here, and I wanted something kind of dark that you wouldn't see really a big contrast between my papers because I kind of want them to be the star. So this piece is going to be 4¼ by 11, and I've put a score mark at 5½ here in the middle. Oh, and I'm sorry, I should say hello to those of you who are watching. I can see comments. There we go. All right, so on the middle of our page, you can of course fold that in half, give it a nice little crisp burnish. On the inside, we always want to make sure to have something to write on. So that's where we're going to bring in a piece of basic white cardstock this time. This will measure 4 by 5¼ and I'm putting it on the inside with a flat adhesive. So tape, seal, glue, whatever works for you. You can get that put on the inside of the card. And of course, coming back later to maybe stamp something fun in here would be a great idea. That little banner stamp could work, or some balloons. But for now, I'm just going to put this in. And I did end up cutting myself a piece of designer paper to attach as well. This is 3/4 inch by 4. And I'm going to just put it down in the bottom here just because it looks fun. So you can use whichever side you want, whatever pattern you want. It just kind of gives a little tie in, I guess, to the front of your card. Now, of course, you can use thin strips as well for a card like this. These are very thick. They're about 3/4 inch wide each, but that's what I had left. Okay, so I also have a pile of ones that are 1/2 inch wide that I will probably go and make a card out of in the future as well. But you kind of work with what you have, and it just so happened that these were the sizes that I had left. So it's about 3/4 inch wide. And if you're trying to kind of make your life easy, just cut them 6 inches long so that you can put them all diagonally on your card. And we're going to go through and trim all those ends off in a few minutes too. If you have some that are smaller, like this guy, this was a scrap that's probably only about 5 inches, you'll just make sure to use it on one of the upper portions instead. So you can use any size of scraps. I'm just suggesting you cut yourself about 5 to 6, because that's kind of what you can fit on the card. But of course, you could always use multiple pieces and sizes too. So grab your pieces, and then on the back of them, I'm just going to get them all ready for me to go. So I'm going to put tape on the back of all of my sheets. And I should say your window sheet, you can't really see this that well, I know, this guy. This is cut at 4 inches by 5¼ Okay, so let's get our little pieces ready. I would suggest using either tape or seal for this technique. If you use glue, it's kind of like when you put glue on top of any sort of plastic, it just smears. And it's okay if you're using only very teeny tiny droplets of it, but anything more will start kind of smearing all over your project and might make quite a big mess for you. So I do suggest, if you've got some tape or some seal, that might be your better bet. Okay. So there we go. So I've got 5 sheets mounted up. I might end up needing a scrap from somewhere else, but let's see how she goes. Now you're going to want to make sure that whatever pieces, if you have varying lengths, whatever pieces are the longest, you will start with, okay? So let's turn these over so you can see your patterns. And I'm going to start with one of my pink ones because I probably don't want those both together. And I'm going to take off my backing and then just put them in a diagonal array, kind of somewhere along my card. You can work from top down or bottom up, doesn't matter, but just make sure that this is going off both sides. You've got a little extra off there. Now work on somewhere that you can easily just pull this off of in the end. If you're working on a piece of paper, you're probably going to end up ripping it. So grab either a silicone mat, or if you've got those silicone cutting boards from your kitchen, grab that. Or be okay if you end up having to rip off the cardboard piece or something too. Okay, so your choice what's next, but you're going to leave just about 1/8 of an inch gap to a quarter. A 1/4 inch to 1/8 of an inch, doesn't matter, it's your card. You can kind of leave as much spacing as you want. I'm doing about a 1/4 inch because these are so thick. If I was using these little strips, I probably would tighten them so there was only about 1/8 showing, because these are so tiny. So that's just my suggestion for you, but of course feel free to do them in whatever order you'd like. Okay. And again, just working up your card. If you prefer to cut as you go, you can, but I kind of just like to get all my pieces on. This one's a little big, so I'm just going to kind of cut it at an angle. Maybe I can use that second half on the bottom. That. This one down here. And then I do have enough extra from this piece that I'm actually just going to reuse it, tie it in down here. I could have chose something different pattern, but there's so much going on, you're not going to notice. Okay, now you have to figure out how you can pry this up. It's always fun. There we go. And you can either come in with your scissors and just trim this by hand, or if you're a little worried about that, you can bring in your trimmer and just cut along those lines too. But I'm pretty comfortable with these window sheets giving me a nice straight line. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I gently cut along those edges. Make sure to get all 4 sides, because it would be sad if we missed one. Here. So there is my front and back. And now that we've got this all ready, you're wondering, okay, how do I get this onto the card without showing any dimensionals through? So here's the key. You're only going to put dimensionals where you have designer paper. So you're not going to put any of them in the spaces that are clear. And by doing that, all of these dimensionals are going to be hidden from view. I'm putting quite a few on because I just want it not to droop in any spots. I want it nice and supported. So I can almost put these kind of on every line here. And take off all the backings. And this is ready to put on my card front. I always find we all have so many designer papers kind of stored away that we never know what to do with. So I encourage you, if you watch this video, maybe just grab one of those packages and chop them up. Do something with one of them and make a whole set of cards all in one shot. Okay? Oh, sorry, you can't see. There you go. So mounting that onto your card front. And then to decorate, I grabbed myself the second largest of these stylish shapes circles. I cut that out in white. And then 2 balloons from some of the designer paper. So I figured Misty Moonlight background, I'm going to use Misty Moonlight ink. And I've got my nice stamp all bent and ready to go in here. There we Go. So. Then we can start attaching our balloons. So the large balloon will have dimensionals all over the back of it. So you can do that, but maybe don't take the backings off quite yet, because we want to figure out exactly where our balloons should sit so they both fit on here. Okay, so you can fit that guy, and then maybe just one little dimensional on the back of this one. Okay, so once you're happy with where they are going, then you can come in and take the backs off. Put them into place. And then if you want to add these little strings, this one I added with the marker, but I don't know how much I'm in love with it. So I think I'm gonna risk bringing out my tiny little string stamp, the block for it. And we're going to try adding just a tiny little bit string here. So I've got a scrap paper under my decal. Then I'm going to ink up with Misty Moonlight and just kind of tuck a string right on the edge there. Oh yeah, that's nice and skinny. Okay, so you don't have to add that part. You can add it with a pen if you'd like, but I think I like how skinny that one is instead. Oh, and I put a dot on there. Well, you know what happens when I put a dot on something? You just cover it up with an embellishment. Oh, darn. I was going to use some of those anyways. Okay, let's pop this up on dimensionals, and then I will finish embellishing. I'm using the tinsel, what are they called? Tinsel Gems 3-pack. And this one here is just so cute. It's got, look at the shine to it. It's got Misty Moonlight, Fresh Freesia, and then I'm guessing, what would you be, like Coastal Cabana maybe? It's kind of an in-between. So your little decal here can go really anywhere you'd like. Kind of just put mine in the bottom right-hand side. And you can see on this one, I put my little gem over in the corner of the balloon, but I had made a little smudge on this guy, so that's fine. I'm just gonna leave the gem there and add a couple other ones to the card as well. There. Like that. And there you go. So there are the two that I have finished. And then, like I said, I'm just going to go in and decorate the rest of these. They all look different because I kind of put on the paper in different orders. I had different papers left, but it was just a great way for me to use up scraps and to even make balloons out of what I had left too. So lots of fun still to be had, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's anything you'd love to see coming up. And if you like this channel, I'd really love if you could just click that like button on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye!